Hey everybody, happy Friday. Sorry I had a little bit of a technical glitch there. Just wanted to say hello. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are doing well. Made it to the end of another week. Been looking forward to sharing this last day with you this week. Um, Next week will be start of a new week. We'll be doing another whole week of these sessions. Um, Hey Phyllis, nice to see you again. Thank you for joining me. Happy Friday. Um, today's Hey Cheryl, nice to see you too. Today's topic I wanted to kind of focus on is resilience. As we head into this weekend and this kind of, I guess, ending of the third week of being in this shelter in place sort of scenario, work from home scenario. Um, I just wanted to kind of, you know, talk about, building resilience, what we can do for our own self care, um, mental health kind of situation here. Um, Really just talk about, how I have been building my resilience in terms of, how I feel in this time, because it is a little bit disconcerting, even though I'm a pretty introverted kind of guy, and I spend a lot of time on my own, and feel comfortable and confident, by myself, in what I describe as solitude rather than isolation. Um, I call it a splendid isolation if I'm going to do anything, because to be honest, it's, you know, for me, it's not really for me, it's not a challenge in some respects. It's a huge challenge in other respects. I've got a new partner who I want to be with, who I want to be spending time with, and I can't see her because she's not able to travel, and I'm not able to travel to see her. Um, so that's frustrating. Um, but part of what gets me through is this sort of level of resilience that I have been able to build, a lot of which has come directly out of my work, after Suzanne died, from the grief that I suffered, and still continue to suffer, in terms of grieving her loss, and how I've been able to to build that resilience within myself. And I say myself, when I talk about myself, I actually really talk about my true self, the capital S self, the true me, not the frightened boy, that's kind of driven by my ego, which does, occasionally still rear its ugly head. Um, one of the one of the things that I did, and spent a lot of time working on, was changing my self-talk. Um, that's one key to building resilience. So self-talk is the stories that we tell ourselves in our own heads, um, and the one thing that I guess a lot of people don't recognize is that they are just stories. We're just telling ourselves stories in our heads, and oftentimes a lot of the things that we tell ourselves isn't really what is truly is, right? Or is truly happening around us, or to us, or with us. Um, but those stories really do drive our emotions and our anxieties and our fears. So one of the things that you can do is, like I say, change your self-talk, and it takes practice. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to reiterate about it, is I actually recorded a 7-minute pep talk, basically, of myself. I mean, it wasn't really a pep talk. It was a way of me describing me, how I see who and what I am, and I recorded it 3 different ways. So the same talk to myself, 3 different ways, and it ended up being about a 20-minute talk. Um, and in each one, I changed the inflection points of the words that I was using. so that I could remember those words more deeply in my subconscious. So the inflection changed, the emphasis changed, the pronunciation of the words changed somewhat in certain respects. So by doing that, I actually reprogrammed my brain by listening to that at least 2 to 3 times a day over and over, just in my headphones or when I was driving in the car alone. I didn't, I had other people around when I was doing it, so I didn't really want them to be hearing my voice telling me how wonderful and how great and how awesome I am. Because really, truly, if we don't tell ourselves that, then the negative self-talk takes over, and we end up thinking the worst, and our self-esteem takes a hit. Our whole approach to life takes a hit, and here is a real opportunity to change that self-talk by basically changing the way you talk to yourself and listening to yourself tell yourself, because it is you that's telling you how to change your self-talk. And I listened to it for a few weeks, and man, it really did change my life. So that was one way that I started to build my resilience. After Suzanne died, I started to see that the self-esteem that I lacked was really part of the fact that I couldn't bounce back into a state of mind where I was comfortable and confident anymore. And so positive self-talk is one of the critical things. But one of the first things that I try to do, if I'm having any fears or anxieties around whatever's going on, is I try to calm myself. Do that through breathing exercises, meditation, grounding, just being more mindful about my own sort of personal space and where I am emotionally, and actually trying to name or at least pinpoint what the emotion is that I'm feeling, that I'm sensing at that moment. And if I can, then I try to, once I've identified that emotion, I then try to find out what's lying behind it. What is the underlying cause, the root cause of my sense of fear or my emotion that I'm feeling in that very moment. And breathing deeply and grounding, just touching the ground, or even sitting or lying on the ground for a few minutes, is really, really helpful in that sort of scenario. I talked about the other day about tragic optimism, and that's another way of building resilience, is to explore ways of trying to, find the bright spots in what's going on. I talked about the Some Good News that John Krasinski has been putting out, I think weekly, and it made me laugh and cry at the same time the other day, and I loved it. It was brilliant. But that sort of thing, finding things to be positive about, even if it's really, really difficult, and oftentimes it is really difficult, it's really hard, then it's one of those things that if we can be optimistic, or we can find some ways to calm ourselves, right, and change that negative self-talk story that we're telling ourselves in our head. All of these things combined can help build resilience, and it doesn't happen overnight. So I'm not saying that it's something that you're going to be able to do instantaneously, and it takes practice, and it takes time, and it takes patience. So like I said in my post this morning, reminding people to join me today, that we've got to give ourselves some grace and ourselves some self-love here, because it's a really difficult time. It's a difficult time for people to be alone, or to be stuck in their homes alone, or certainly within the confines of social distancing. it's difficult to really feel that connection to other humans, and as social animals, um, it's really really important that we do get those connections, and that's why, like I said, I want to keep doing these things. So one of the other things that I would suggest that you explore, if you're looking to build your resilience in this time, is what's your self-care routine? And self-care is not a luxury. A lot of people say, and I've seen a lot of things written in different places, in different magazines and different journals, that self-care for a lot of people is a luxury. It isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Um, More illness and injury and accidents take place when we don't truly look after ourselves, um, than really any other reasons why we end up hurting ourselves, harming ourselves, even accidentally, and why we end up getting ill. These are things that self-care is things like getting enough sleep, drinking plenty of water, taking breaks during the day, you know, identifying your emotions and understanding what they represent in your body, understanding how your body feels, knowing when you're really tired and taking a rest, knowing when you're hungry and getting something nourishing to eat. Self-care is basically your own nourishment for your soul, for your body, for your mind. That's what self-care truly is. And that's a huge piece of resilience, because if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not caring for yourself, and if you're not really giving yourself that time and energy that you need to replenish yourself, then you really do run the risk of running down, getting more, losing control of your emotions more, and being more prone and susceptible to illness and stress and anxiety. So, another thing that you can do to help build resilience, and this is what Suzanne practiced, literally while she was going through the cancer treatment before she died, is gratitude practice. Every day, what are you grateful for? I think most of us who are able to get on social media and connect with friends and family at long distances, and last night I had banter with people who I disagree with politically, but the reality is that I have the luxury of being able to do that, and I'm grateful for that. I really am. Even though I don't agree with people on everything, and I don't expect them to agree with my viewpoints all the time, it's nice, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to still be able to do that with people. And so social media and the ability to reach out and to connect with people like you while I'm doing these talks. I'm very grateful for that. I really, really am. I'm grateful for the fact that I have, 3 wonderful daughters who I can talk with and support and be there for when they need me. I'm grateful for a lot of things, and having a gratitude practice is another huge element of building resilience. So these are a bunch of things that I think we as human beings need to try to develop as we're creating a way to build resilience. And I don't know. I asked a couple of questions in my in the little box underneath here. If you guys want to, type in answers to that, I'd love to hear what you guys do. Or if you're not doing anything, or if you feel like you need to do something, I'm happy to suggest some some practices that may be helpful to you. I'm hoping that you're all doing at least something, some sort of sorry about that, some form of self-care routine that's allowing you to help build your resilience in this time. Excuse me, sorry. Or that you're just really kind of taking a positive outlook, or at least somewhat of a positive outlook towards the successful ending of this, and and that we don't lose the huge numbers of people that that are projected to go in and to die in this pandemic. I do appreciate that not everybody believes the doomsday predictions and what's going on, but until this situation is really under control, which I think it's being left down to the states to do that. Each state has to kind of really come up with a solution that works for its own population, and hopefully that will work. Hopefully that will prevent the virus from spreading any further than it already has. But I think if anybody wants to kind of ask about self-care or resilience building or anything like that, I'm game. I'm open to sort of have a discussion about it. I've also said that if you want to reach out to me on a private message, that's absolutely fine too, instead of putting it here in the group chat. But yeah, it's hard to build resilience in a time when everything feels so challenging. So from that perspective, right now it's it's a very kind of tricky time to try and work on self-care routines and things like that, especially if you've got children at home. If you're working full-time and you're trying to balance work and maybe homeschooling or managing the kids' time while they're doing online schools, it's a difficult time to really make sure that you give your own self enough time. And it's even harder when you're in a confined space, right? So if you're not able to get out and about during the day, then you may not be able to to do part of your self-care routine. A self-care routine for me has been to go for a walk with my dogs every day, and I hate to say this, but it's been really, really chucking it down with rain for the last week, and it's really, really frustrating that I haven't been able to get out for the amount of time. Not because I'm afraid of the rain or anything like that, but I just don't have the right rain gear, and it's literally it's been torrential at times. So I don't want to get out there and get completely soaked and run the risk of even catching a cold from being exposed to the cool air and wet for too long. So I haven't been doing that normal routine for myself. So I've had to do other things instead. Part of it is just valuing the time that I have here to be with people, to be grateful for those things that I said earlier that I have. And it's basically me trying to build my own resilience that I've already been working on over this period of time since Suzanne died, and now this new challenge has come forward in our period of splendid isolation now. So that's kind of where I come from in terms of how I build resilience, and how I see a lot of the techniques that have helped me, and I'm hoping that they're helpful to you. if there's anything, that you're feeling, and I've said this, numerous times, whatever you're feeling, it's okay to feel that. So if you haven't had the chance to do any self-care routine or create any new self-care routines or stick with one that you already had, that's okay too. Just, like I say, give yourself some grace, and, but also give yourself some love, right? Don't forget to, to feel that in your body, and give yourself that love and that grace that you deserve, and that you need. Um, so yeah, so if you're feeling drained, if you're feeling, you know, down, if you're, whatever. Hey, Christy, nice to join me. Lovely to see you. If there's anything that that you can do to kind of change that negative self-talk, that you might be hearing inside your head, any new self-care or even basic self-care, routines. Have a bath, take a walk, enjoy a nice cup of tea or coffee. Just simple things to give yourself that sort of few moments of respite, and just breathe, ground, think whatever you need to think about, in terms of some sort of I don't know, story that you're telling yourself, right? So think about how you're telling yourself a story and whether that story is really true. These things are all things that you can do to help build your resilience, change your way of thinking and being, and kind of keep moving forward during this period of time when it's really frustrating and difficult to do that. So excuse me, I'll grab some water here. So another thing is awareness, right? We oftentimes aren't even aware of what we're feeling at the time, because we just feel, and our emotions just kind of almost overtake us. So part of building resilience is understanding those emotions and asking yourself, even, why do I feel this way? What is that emotion? What is it trying to tell me? Where do I feel that in my body? Is it truly just in my head, or is it coming from my gut or my heart, or wherever? So it's understanding that too, and finding a focus, finding a way to focus on that sensation, can also help you build resilience. So so from that point of view, I'm really happy that you've been able to join me again today on Friday, and I hope you will come back on Monday, 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and join me for the next of these lunchtime live broadcasts. I really appreciate you. I'm very grateful that you've been joining me, and welcome you to message me if you have any questions, or want to talk about any of these topics that I've been discussing each day. And I guess the only thing left to say is have a great weekend. Really, please, just do whatever you can. Look after yourself. Give yourself that grace and love and care, and just have a great weekend, and I hope to see you Monday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Take care, everybody, and have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me.